Good morning, friends. Happy Monday. Today is Monday, May 18th, and we are back for another Read Aloud lesson. Now, just as I did last week, I'm going to put the link to the distance learning folder and the folder for today's materials in the description for this video. So you'll just have to click down below this video where it says description. There's going to be two links, and you'll need to click on them in order to access the materials if you are confused about where to find them. So I'm also going to go over it real quick right here, just like always, to make sure that you know where you're going. So I'm going to the folder called Distance Learning Materials, going to first grade, read aloud, read aloud. There we go. And then May 18th to May 22nd, because that is this week. And then we're going to go to Monday 5/18. And here we have the materials that we'll need for today's lesson. So I'll post a link to this folder as well as the big distance learning folder that has all of the materials that you could ever possibly need for the rest of your life until we need more. All right, so let's go here. Today, as I'm sure you can tell from just looking at the text right here, we are going to be reading a poem. Now, I am going to read it first, so let me make it big. Boom, big. All right. Here we go. So I'm going to read it first. Oh man. All right. I didn't realize that would happen. No, come back. Stop. No. All right, we're having technical difficulties. There we go. Now we've got it. So I'm going to read it first and then we'll answer some questions. So without further ado, If It Was Sunlight Shining by Jack Prelutsky. If it was sunlight shining, I'd know that it was day. I'd gobble down my breakfast, then hurry out to play. If it was sunlight shining, I would not be indoors. I'd race around the garden. I'd fill the air with roars. If it was sunlight shining, I'd be a chimpanzee. I'd run, I'd jump, I'd tumble, I'd clamber up a tree. But it is moonlight shining. My eyes are getting red. My head is full of cobwebs, and I am off to bed. All right, so that was the whole poem. It's just the two slides right there. So the first thing that we need to ask ourselves is how many stanzas are in this poem. I'm going to flip back and forth between this page and the next page so you guys can count them. Count them yourselves and see if you can figure out how many stanzas are in this poem. Go ahead. All right, so remember that stanzas are how poets break up their poems. So we're going to label them just so that we know how many stanzas there are. So each stanza is one section of the poem. There's often a space between them so you can figure out how many stanzas there are, how the poem is organized, and then what the rhyming pattern is, which is what we'll get to next. So I see one right here. One. I see one right here. So that means that this one is two. It's a funny looking two, but I promise it's a two. And then we've got two more over here. So this will be three. And this will be four. So how many stanzas are there? There are four. One, two, three, four stanzas. One, two, three, four. Awesome. All right, now we've got to figure out the rhyming pattern. So the next question is asking you what the rhyming pattern is in this poem. So we're just going to look at stanza one and try and figure out the rhyming pattern in that stanza because it repeats for the next few. So just read this part right here, this first stanza, and see if you can figure out the rhyming pattern all by yourselves, and then we'll go over it together. All right, go ahead. All right, so remember when we're trying to figure out what the rhyming pattern is, we label each line with a letter, just like how we figure out patterns in math. So for the first line is always, always, always going to be A, because that's the first letter of the alphabet, and that is the first line of the poem. Now, when we're looking for the rhyming pattern, we have to look for the last word in each line. So the important words that we're looking at are shining, day, breakfast, and play. Now, I'm sure me just saying those four words, you can already tell that at least two of them rhyme. So let's see what they are. So we've got A right here for shining. So let's see if the last word in the next line rhymes with that word. So we've got shining and day. So this ends with ing, this ends with A. Those do not rhyme. So I'm going to put a B right here because if it's a different sound at the end, we need a different letter. So far we've got A, B. All right, the next word is breakfast. And the last syllable is ist, breakfast, ist, ist. Um, Now let's see if that rhymes with shining or day. Breakfast, shining. Nope. Breakfast, day. Nope. So that's a new sound too. So we need a new letter. So we've got C. All right. This last word right here is play. So I'm sure we can already see that there's one word that rhymes, one underlined word that rhymes with play. We've got shining, play. So it's not going to be an A. Day, play. Ooh, that definitely rhymes. Day, play. A, A. There we go. So what letter needs to go here if it's got the same sound as the word in this line? B, because it's the same sound as the other line that was labeled with a B. So the rhyming pattern, friends, is A, B, C, B. A, B, C, B. And that repeats throughout the whole poem. All right, now we have one of those fun multiple choice questions. So here we go. What does the phrase sunlight shining mean? A, nighttime, B, lunchtime, or C, daytime? Now, some of us might already know the answer to this, but let's go through and see what we can find out about the phrase sunlight shining. Now, we know that sunlight shining is repeated in the first line of the first three stanzas. So I'm actually going to read the poem again so that we get a better understanding of what is going on in this poem and what this phrase sunlight shining might mean. So, if it was sunlight shining by Jack Roletsky. If it was sunlight shining, I'd know that it was day. I'd gobble down my breakfast, then hurry out to play. If it was sunlight shining, I would not be indoors. I'd race around the garden. I'd fill the air with roars. If it was sunlight shining, I'd be a chimpanzee. I'd run, I'd jump, I'd tumble, I'd clamber up a tree. But it is moonlight shining. My eyes are getting red. My head is full of cobwebs, and I am off to bed. So when we're just, nope, wrong button. Now, when we're just talking and having a conversation, I don't usually use the phrase sunlight shining like this. If it was sunlight shining, I would say the sun is shining. So this phrase doesn't really, the way that we talk doesn't really fit, but the author or the poet put it in this poem for a reason, and it makes us think about what the true meaning of the poem is. So, if it was sunlight shining, so what does that mean? And we're given a multiple choice, or we're given multiple choices, so we can substitute in words and see which one makes the most sense if we don't already have a good idea of what this phrase might mean. So, if it was sunlight shining, let's see, what's the first word? It was nighttime. All right, so let's go up here If it was nighttime, I'd know that it was day. I'd gobble down my breakfast, then hurry out to play. That doesn't make any sense. I don't eat breakfast during the nighttime. I mean, pancakes late at night are very good, but that's not called breakfast. That's just eating pancakes at nighttime. So, no, that doesn't make any sense. And if it's nighttime, you know that it's not day. So, this doesn't make any sense either. So, I'm going to go ahead and cross out nighttime. Goodbye. All right. The next one is lunchtime. Let's see if it fits. Lunchtime. If it was lunchtime, I'd know that it was day. Okay, that's pretty good so far. I'd gobble down my breakfast, then hurry out to play. Okay, so if it's lunchtime, I'm definitely not eating breakfast. Um, so that definitely doesn't make any sense. Um, let's try it with this stanza as well, just to double check to make sure that we know this isn't the right answer. If it was lunchtime, I would not be indoors. I'd race around the garden. I'd fill the air with roars. See, that's how we know that lunchtime does not fit. That's not the right answer. Because when it's lunchtime, I mean, we could eat outdoors. That is true. We could have a picnic. But I'd race around the garden. You're not going to race around the garden while you're eating. You'll end up choking. That's very unsafe. And filling the air with roars. You're gonna roar while you have food in your mouth? That's gross. No, that's not. No, absolutely not. No. So lunchtime is wrong as well. Incorrect. So I'm hoping that daytime is the correct answer, or else we'll have three wrong answers, which would be a huge bummer. So let's see. If it was daytime, I'd know that it was day. We're on something here. I'd gobble down my breakfast, then hurry out to play. That makes sense. I know that it's day during the daytime, and I eat breakfast during the daytime. I definitely hurry out to play during the daytime, or you all do. Um, so let's double check to make sure it fits. If it was daytime, I would not be indoors. I'd race around the garden. I'd fill the air with roars. Yeah, I can fill the air with roars during the daytime. I can also race around the garden. And sometimes garden means like backyard or front yard. So you can race around the backyard or the front yard in the daytime. So I'm going to go ahead and circle C. That is the correct answer. Letter C. Daytime is the best fit. All right. Now, the next question is asking you what this poem is about. I'm going to read it through again, and then you'll have some time to try and figure out what this poem is. So listen and read along if you want to. You can either read it in your head or say it out loud with me, and then I'll give you some time to figure out what the poem is about. If It Was Sunlight Shining by Jack Prelutsky. If it was sunlight shining, I'd know that it was day. I'd gobble down my breakfast, then hurry out to play. If it was sunlight shining, I would not be indoors. I'd race around the garden. I'd fill the air with roars. If it was sunlight shining, I'd be a chimpanzee. I'd run, I'd jump, I'd tumble, I'd clamber up a tree. But it is moonlight shining. My eyes are getting red. My head is full of cobwebs, and I am off to bed. All right. So, um, take about a minute to see if you can figure out what exactly is going on in this poem, and then we'll go over it together. I'm going to flip through these two pages so you can see all of the stanzas while you're trying to answer the question. So go ahead. All right, so let's go stanza by stanza and figure out what's going on. If it was sunlight shining, I'd know that it was day. I'd gobble down my breakfast, then hurry out to play. Okay, so what I'm picturing in my mind is the sun is shining. It's daytime. We've determined that sunlight shining means that it's the daytime. So the sun is shining. I'm about to start my day. I'm eating breakfast to get all that energy that I'm going to need for a full day of play. Then, in this stanza, if it was sunlight shining, I would not be indoors. I'd race around the garden. I'd fill the air with roars. Well, this is the narrator of this poem is running around outside and playing during the day. The sunlight is shining, so we know it's daytime. And this narrator is running, running, running all around the garden or the front yard or the backyard or whatever green space he has or she has or they have. And they'd be yelling, filling the air with roars. Because, sometimes, like when we go to recess, you just need to be loud because the whole day you're sitting inside. You go outside, you can be loud. So that is what is going on in the second stanza. Third stanza. If it was sunlight shining, I'd be a chimpanzee. I'd run, I'd jump, I'd tumble, I'd clamber up a tree. All right, so we know that a chimpanzee is a monkey. The monkeys run, they jump, they tumble, and they clamber up the tree. It's like when you're climbing up the jungle gym so fast you feel like a monkey because you know that you're so sure of where you're going next. You know you're not going to fall. So they're running, they're jumping, they tumble, they clamber up a tree. But in this last stanza, it's something different. But it is moonlight shining. My eyes are getting red. My head is full of cobwebs, and I am off to bed. So this is a little bit different than the last three stanzas. So in the first three stanzas, we see a lot of I would or I'd, which is the contraction for I would. It's this phrase, but just smushed together. So we see I would, I would, I would, I would. But now in this last stanza, it's not I would, it's it is. So we know that this is actually what's going on. That it is moonlight shining and my eyes are getting red, my head is full of cobwebs, and I am off to bed. So what's really happening right now is the narrator is ready to go to bed. It's nighttime and they're getting ready to go to bed, but they're also imagining all of the things that they were doing or wanted to do while the sun's out in the daytime. So what is the poem about? It's about someone imagining what they want to do in the daytime before they go to sleep. It's about someone imagining what or thinking about what they want to do in the daytime before they go to sleep. All right, my friends. Now we get to move on to the exit ticket. So, the exit ticket today is asking, is this poem taking place during the day or at night? How do you know? Remember to use three pieces of text evidence and complete sentences. All right, so let's break it down. Let's see what this question is asking. Is this poem taking place during the day or at night? Well, we kind of just figured that out in that last question because we know that the poem is about a somebody who is about to go to bed, but they're thinking about what they want to do in the daytime. So we know that the poem is taking place at night, right before the person goes to bed. Oops, because it says it is moonlight shining. It doesn't say if it was; it says it is. So we know for certain that the moonlight is shining, and when the moonlight is shining, that usually means it's time for bed. Um, But then we have to figure out how we know. This is one piece of evidence. We see it is over here instead of if it right here. We also see a lot of I woulds in the beginning of the poem. We say I'd, which is short for I would, I'd, I would. I'd, I'd. So these things aren't actually happening, they're just happening in the person's mind. So that's another piece of text evidence that you can use. Your job is to come up with 3 pieces of text evidence to prove that the poem is taking place at night, because we know from the answer of the last question that this poem is taking place in the night. All right, my friends, I hope you have a great rest of your Monday. Make it a really good start to the week, and I will see you tomorrow for another Read Aloud. Bye, friends.